Hello, this is Lena Kears from Inspired Creations. I'm a Canadian independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! And today I have this really cool card to share with you. Now I have to tell you up front that I did not create this. I learned this technique from France Martin, who calls herself Frenchie. And she made a video about it and I learned from her. And so now I want to share it with my customers, but she gets all the credit. So it's called a Z fold with pop-up center. So this center here pops up, and as you can see here, the mechanism, I'm going to show you how to make that. And it's a really cool card, but it's not difficult to make. So I'm using the Flowering Tulips stamp set, and the words come from the Peaceful Moments. I'm just using the Happy Birthday. And today I'm going to make it a little bit differently than I did before, using different cardstock and designer paper. So let's get started. We're starting with a piece of white that is 5.5 by 8.5, and it's scored at 2 1/8 and 4 1/4. So it's a regular Z fold card. And then I've got 4 pieces that fit here, here, and then on the backs. And they are 2 inches by, let me see where I've got my instructions here, 2 inches by 5 3/8. So 2 inches across and 5 3/8. So 4 of those if you want to decorate the back. So I'll show you on my original card here. So there's not much space for writing inside because this pop-up piece kind of covers the white area there. So this is for writing on here, and then if you want the whole back to look pretty, you can just put your extra designer paper there. So that's what I'm going for. Okay, then we've got to make this square here. This is on a diagonal, but the paper is not on a diagonal. So how are we going to make this into a diagonal piece? Well, I'll show you that shortly after I finish telling you all about the pieces here. So we've talked about the designer paper. These are the 2 pieces for the back. So this is 5 3/8, and this by 4 1/4, no, 4 1/8, and 5 1/4 by 4 for the white. So that's just going to be on the back. And don't worry, I'll put all the sizes underneath the video once it's done, under Show More. Then we've got this little mechanism here. This is a piece of 1 inch by 4 inch, and it's scored at 1, 2, and 3 inches just to make this mechanism, this little box shape that will help the inside part to stand up. And then I've got my 2 square pieces. So these are 1 7/8 for the dark green, and 1 3/4 by 1 3/4 for the white piece. So we'll be stamping our tulips on there, and then this is just using the oval die to put the greeting on. So that's all our pieces. So let's do this part first. How do we make this? Because if we put it on a diagonal, it doesn't really look right. You can see which way the tulips are growing. So what I learned from Frenchie is that if you mark, this is 4 by 4, if you mark that at the 2 inch mark here, and here, and here, and here on all 4 sides, and then we're just going to cut these corners off, and we're going to use them because you need the corners for these 4 corners here, so it's not wasted. So that's what we're going to do first. I'll bring in my cutter, and I've already marked it with my pencil. So I'm just putting these little dots in the track and cut them off. And the next one. And we have to do this 4 times. And the last one. So I can still see my little dots there. Or you just go by the end pieces there. Okay, so now we have our square, and we have our 4 little triangles that we'll need on the card. So now, look, like magic, it now is going in a diamond shape, and the tulips are going the right way. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so I see that I missed cutting one piece of. Okay, so we need to have this piece at 3 by 3. Okay, so we're just going to not glue it in yet, because I did it wrong the first time I made it, so I learned from that. I'll glue the designer paper on after. So first we will just glue these 4 pieces on, and I'm going to take my little scrappy piece here, and it doesn't matter if I go over the edges. And then we'll just put these in place here. This tulip paper is just so beautiful. There's so many different designs in there. And then I'll just do these back ones while I'm at it. See how easy so far? Nothing to it. It looks a whole lot more complicated than what it really is. Oops, there we go. Okay, so now we could use our home folder to make this all nice and burnished. There we go. Alrighty. So let's just glue down these little triangles here. So we're going to make sure that they're going the right way. We'll put those 2 at the bottom and these 2 at the top. Perfect. And I'm just going to use my liquid glue for that. Because it gets nicely into those little corners. There, you can just leave an even little edge. You want to kind of keep it even with the space that you've got on this piece here. There we go. 2 more to go. I really appreciate that you are taking the time to watch my video. I hope that you find it useful, that you learned something from my video, the way I learned how to make it from Frenchie's, and you can check her website out too, because she's been doing this a lot longer than I have, I think. She's very good at what she does. There we go. Okay. So now we can take this little mechanism here, and you just fold on all the score lines, make sure it's going to open easily. And we're going to put some glue on this side and on this side, just on those 2 squares. So let's just do one here at the bottom. We're going to put it right into the fold in the center of this space. And then we're going to add the glue to the top. And close this up. Just close it. And let that sit for a minute so it can dry. And I guess I could put a block on it or something just to keep it closed. And then we'll stamp this in the meantime. And I'm going to stamp that with the Evergreen. So my cardstock colors just come out of the papers here. There we go. It doesn't take very long for this to dry. So there it is. So that's how the mechanism works. So now we have to get this in here, but it's only going to sit right against here. So it's too long. What do we do now? Well, we're just going to use our pencil and we're going to draw a line. And we're going to cut this much off. So just putting it right into this space here, because that's where it's going to sit on. And we're actually, the part that we're cutting off here is going to be the part that sits against that. So you can use your cutter, you can use your scissors, doesn't really matter. Okay, let's try this now. Ah, that works better. Look at that. Maybe just a wee bit more. It's coming off just a tiny bit yet. That's pretty close to perfect. Okay, so now the reason I didn't want to glue my paper on yet, because I did that when I made the first one, and then I made the line on this side, and then oops, it was going to be sitting upside down. So you want to just make sure you're able to glue this side over here. So now when I glue the designer paper on, I'll make sure it goes the right way. Okay, we want it sitting this direction. Nice little edge all the way around. One thing about the liquid glue, it lets you wiggle things around a bit. Okay, and now we can just cut this off again. And lo and behold, it's going to be in the right place. Okay, so now we're going to just put some glue right on top of this mechanism. And the liquid glue dries really strongly, so okay, we're going to lay it in here, and you want to make sure it's centered in here so that everything is looking good. Alrighty, so I'm just going to cover this up with my block again and let that sit. And now we can do these little squares here. So again, they're going to be on the diagonal. And I'm picking the pumpkin out of this designer paper, pumpkin pie color. And we'll stamp this quite close to the top so that we'll still have some room for the stem and the leaves. There we go. Now, actually, we're going to be stamping this on the back as well, so we might as well keep that handy. For the back part, we're going to stamp the stem first, but for this little part, I want to stamp the flower first so that it will for sure fit on there. Okay, coming right about there. want the stem to not be into the flower too far. That's good. And then let's do it on the back part too. Oh, here it is. There we go. Done with that one. Now we can pull out the pumpkin again. Snap this up here. It's hard to lean over without getting my head in the video. Looks like I just missed it by a teensy bit. So we'll just take my marker and extend this a wee bit. There we go. Always some way to fix the mistakes that we make. Okay, now we need the leaves. These leaves, it doesn't matter which way is up, so you can just turn it around the other way. So that's for the back of the card. And this one just gets a little bit of leaf showing here. There we go. There, we've got our flowers on the diagonal. Let's get rid of this ink because, knowing me, I'll set something right in it. Okay. These are pretty easy just to glue on. See how easily this card is coming together? Now, so let's just check out our mechanism here. It's working well. You see how it opens and closes here? Now we're going to put our flowers. I'm keeping it right on the edge of the designer paper here. On the diagonal, make sure we only glue this left part. And same thing down here. Okay, so again, I'll use my liquid glue. So I want the left, so now it becomes the right when I flip it over. Here we go. Same thing with this one. I'm not quite done with these flowers yet because I'd like them to give them a little sparkle. So I'm using my Wink of Stella pen just to add some sparkle. Now I don't think that really shows up much on the video, but it does make a difference when you see the card. And that adds, it makes the color bleed a little bit too, which is okay here. I don't mind if that turns a little bit yellow. I think it's actually nicer. So I'll do that over here again too. Just pick up some of that pumpkin pie ink and spread it into the white area. Because those white areas are just highlighted areas. There we go. Alrighty, so now, what did I do with my stamped label? Ah, here it is. And some dimensionals. I guess if you wanted to, you could put a color behind the label too, but I'm just going to leave it white. There's already a fair bit of the dark green on there. Now you could make this another shape. You could make it a circle, whatever you like. And I want to add some dimensionals to that. Or not dimensionals, something pretty. So let's add a butterfly. I'll add 2. And just add them like this. There we go. So that's our card. Isn't that beautiful? Now we're going to flip it over and add the back to it. Whoops, that's not going to work, is it? There we go. This seal sticks really well too, so that's always a good choice. There we go, and one more time. So I've got all my information here at the top of my paper. In case you don't have a demonstrator yourself, you can, if you're Canadian, you can order through me. Well, maybe I'll add some Winkle Stella to this one too. Here we go. So I post on my Facebook page 3 to 5 times a week. I make a few videos every month, I try. And this is my online store and my Facebook page there, and my host code for April. So there we have our card. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you'll give it a try. It's really not very difficult. Till next time, bye-bye.